Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to the stream, and another chapter working on this guy right here. That is our Mig-17. I'm getting some kind of a message going on by my screen. Anyway, Mig-17F by Ammo. It's 1/48 scale. Run the intro. Get started. So we're back, and we're going to continue. So we left this with some rubber bands on the nose as I got the front little nozzle put on here, and let that dry. So we're going to change the camera. I've got something rattling. Oh, I know what's rattling. It's this guy here. We're going to change the camera and get these taken off, okay? Alright, so let's start by changing the glasses. And let's take our rubber bands off of here. I used up almost all of my rubber bands. I only got a couple more left after these, but that's okay. So I used them all up. I managed to get this all nice and together, nice and I got a little bit of a lip here, but I don't think that's going to be very noticeable. I could try sanding that down a little bit. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some not too aggressive sandpaper. I'll use a sanding sponge. Got some 2000 grit here. I'll just kind of give this a little bit of a polish on here. Just kind of focus on this edge here, just so it's not so much of a step. And this is what I was trying to prevent with all those rubber bands, but just couldn't do it. So we got to take measures into our own hands here, and this plane's going to be silver, so it's not going to be that much of a noticeable thing, but I know it's there, so I want to try and fix this. That feels a little bit better. And obviously you can really see where that edge is from how much it's sanding down. I'm going to get something a little bit more aggressive and just kind of work on this edge. Ideally, I would like something a little bit better. So what I'm going to try, we're going to do this. I'm going to take my file. I'm going to put the sandpaper over the file. So now I've got a good hard edge on there that I can get right in that spot. So if my sandpaper in that spot is worn down a little too much. So let's just tear that off. Fold that over here. Now we've got a nice, good, almost untouched edge. And I can just focus right on that step. Try and get that step down. The further we get underneath towards the bottom, the more prominent the step is becoming. I don't want to use the file on it. The file's going to be too aggressive. But sandpaper is good. I feel a little bit better now. I feel like that's at a point where it's going to it won't be very noticeable. You can see where our little cover on the front here was sticking up also. Just going to sand that down a little bit too. just with my finger. I think that's good enough. This side is pretty good, I think. Just maybe a little bit of cleaning up where the glue was, where some glue kind of poked through. But I think that's pretty good. As we can see along as we go around this edge here, even on this edge we've got a little bit of a step. It's not much, it's very subtle on this side. Of course, we're not supposed to have any step at all, right? That's supposed to be nice and flush. But this isn't the real plane, it's just a model kit. So we have to deal with this. So there we go. Okay, a little bit of re-priming on that. That'll be good to go, I think. Alright, so what is the next step on this thing anyway? Well, the next step is put my rubber bands back. And I just put them on my little thing over here so they're ready for the next time I need them. Okay, let's take a look at the instruction book. So, this is where we left it off. We got to put A33 on the bottom. That's got to go in, okay? And that will finish off the page because we've already did this section. We already did our wings last time, right? We got our sections put together here. So we've got to get A33 and put that on the bottom. So let's grab that. A33, of course, this big guy here. That guy off of the sprue and get the nubs cleaned up. Okay, there we go. Let's see how this guy fits in here. Doesn't really want to fit. Probably something that should have been done while the glue was soft on the other panels, and I could have maybe spread them apart or whatever to get this to fit. It doesn't really want to fit at all. Let's try fitting it at the front first. If I fit it at the front, it doesn't really want to go in the back. Put it at the back, it doesn't want to go in. It doesn't want to clip in on the front. I think we're going to have to do a little bit of shaving. It's kind of like an almost fit. So where this edge is like this, I'm going to chamfer it a little bit like this. Okay? So we're going to change our angle on that to try and help that kind of slide into place. Without taking any of the material away on this edge. Right? I want to retain this material here. So I'm just doing it at an angle. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit of resistance on the sides too. So I'm going to chamfer this too with my file. Just a little bit. So I feel like this section in here and here is kind of interfering with our cockpit that's sitting there. That's what it feels like. So I'm just gonna file this side down too. And again, I don't want to take away any of the material on this edge. I want to retain this edge completely. So I'm just focusing on the inner edge. Okay. let's give that a shot. So we got the front end first. Let's see if we can, yeah, I can now convince it to kind of flex a little bit in there. We're just way off on this side. We're good here, but it's flexing. But we're nowhere near where we need to be on this side. So what's going on here? It's like it just won't sit down. If I do this side first, maybe. Get this guy in there. No matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to wind up having to shave it a little bit. I'm going to take a little tiny bit off the front here. Just because it's just not fitting in. It's causing it to flex. So, and also doing that, I'm going to do this edge too. Just a hair, just a little bit. Because it's causing it to flex, it's not conforming to the contour of the plane properly. So let's try this again. I kind of, hindsight, I would have liked to put this part on first and then put the nose cone on, because then I could have made sure I had a flat surface, and it wouldn't matter if this is sticking out further or not, but I could get it all lined up on the fuselage halves, because if I get it lined up here at the back, it's all perfect and it's good, but it wants to pop out on this edge. Yeah, this edge too needs a little falling on the floor job. This edge too needs a little bit of shaving. Of course, this edge is much thinner, so it's a lot easier to go too far. I don't want to go too far with it. Also, I want to get this edge shaved, this edge shaved a little more. Now, this edge feels like it's really wanting to resist its spot. It doesn't like its home. It thinks it's too good for its home. Okay. Alright, let's try this again. I honestly was not thinking I was going to have this issue when I started this stream. I put this guy in there and it suddenly is too long. I think if I take any more material off of my two edges, I'll wind up having a gap on them. This side is good. This side looks pretty good. Well, it's actually not. It's actually not good. We're so close, guys. We're so close. If I put the front end in first, the back end don't want to go. So I think I got to work around this edge here. That's what it's feeling like. That edge is resisting me. get my knife. Where's my knife? Let's do some carving. Instead of just filing, let's try some light carving. Okay. This edge. Just a little bit of scraping. Okay. Try again. Definitely not as much resistance there, but I still got this huge gap on this side, and I don't like that at all. I hate that gap. You guys see that huge gap along there? That is awful. This side it's nice and flush and perfect, but this side's got this huge gap, and it's perfect here. So why doesn't it want to go in and stay in a spot here? It could be, see, I've got a bit of a step right here. Right there, there's a step where this little piece comes into effect. And that could be affecting, it could very well be affecting it. So let's try filing that step down. I really don't know if this is actually what's causing it. I'm just kind of guessing. I'm just going to take care of this little step here a little bit. Be very careful when you're doing something like this. I don't want to cut into my thumb. I really don't. So you got to be careful and have a lot of control of your brush, or your knife. Have control of your brush too. That's important. But I think part of it is it's hitting this little step here, and it doesn't want to lay down where it's supposed to. So let's see. Let's try this again. It seems a lot more willing to go into that spot now. It still doesn't want to go all the way over though. Not unless I do that. I think I'm gonna have to get in here and file this down. I think it's too tall. And it's forcing it to go up. Trying to be very careful not to file any other part. Let's try this again. I can push it down into there now, and I could hold it in that spot while trying to get the rest of it in. With that in, I can close that gap. Just by kind of pushing down. But when I do that, it causes other parts of it to come out of alignment. Oh, there we're in. But now that that's kind of snapped in on this side, again, we've got this huge gap, and I can squeeze it over and give it a push. But guess what we got to do then? We've got to do the rubber band thing again. I don't really want to do that. But I do want to, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the rubber bands on it, and I'll just glue this one edge. I'll get this edge lined up, put the rubber bands on there, and glue it in just like that. And then I'll leave it like that, and I won't touch it. I'll just leave it like this, and then later on I'll come back down and I can do this side. So we're going to do this one side at a time because it doesn't quite line up good enough for me, and I don't want to put a bunch of putty in there. I really don't. So let's grab my rubber bands again. Let's grab these guys, and I'll put them all the way back to here first. Okay, let's get this on there. Come over our HUD. Over that. And it will be over the seat. There we go. Okay, so he's almost ready. There we go. Okay, so he's ready to be put in place. So, put this guy in and put another rubber band on the front part. And that ought to hold this in place. I want to have this guy over that edge there. That's the nice thing about these things is they kind of stay where you put them. So I can have that on that corner. This one I need to make sure is over on here, but even still, even with the rubber band, this guy wants to lift up and just be wrong. He wants to be wrong. But that's exactly where it needs to be. So I'm going to run some glue along this edge here. Get this side done. Okay. There. And that's that. So I'm going to hold this for a minute. We'll take a look at what's next. So what's next? We flip the page over. We're supposed to put our wings on and put the front part of the canopy and do our rear wings and stuff like that. But while I've got this sitting like this anyway, we're going to take a look at underneath. B41 needs to go in this little spot here. So let's find that. B41 is going to be this little rectangle right there. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I do need two hands. So let's see. Can I afford to let this go? It's trying to hold it, but it's not. So I just need to wait. I'm just going to have to hold it for another minute. I might be able to get away with putting a clamp on it, but I doubt I can because of the rounded edge here. And if I put a clamp that's coming from this side, it's going to want to pull it over, and that's not going to work. I'm putting pressure on this thing to push this against the edge like that so that it stays on this edge. That's what I need. Right? I need that on that edge. That's where it's supposed to be. If I could put a hook in it and pull it to that edge, I would, but I can't. And I am really not ambidextrous to be able to grab another rubber band like that. Let's just let go of this for a sec. Get a third rubber band on there. Pull that back just a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to hold now. It looks like it's going to hold anyway. And everything's good except for this edge, but we'll deal with that later on once this is cured properly. Once this is dried, okay? In the meantime, we have this guy here. There's little panels that I need to cover up and close. And before we really get into the assembly of the rest of this, I need to put these little panels on. So that's what I want to deal with right now today, guys. Okay, so our B41, they don't show any detail. And of course, this piece does have detail. They don't show any detail. They do have a little tab. A little tab right here. If I scrape the black paint away, you can see there's a little rectangular tab right there on that side. And we've got a little notch right there on this side. And that's going to tell us which direction this goes in. Let's see how it fits. It kind of fits really tight. I wish they made these things so that they fit a little bit better. Because of our little tiny bit of a nub here, she doesn't want to fit flush. So you got to make sure this nub is gone. Like that. And I want to do a bit of a chamfer on here. Don't need that little rectangular thing to guide me where it's supposed to go. I know what side it goes on now, just by looking. So let's get this back in here. Gotta be careful with it, that you don't go too much of an angle. And that should get in there nice and flush now. Yes, that's nice and flush. Good. So we'll put some glue on that. And give it another little push down just to make sure. I want it flush. If I can help it, I'd like to make it so it doesn't look like there's a rectangular panel there at all. But with their little lip that they put in there to help you position this, I can't put it deep enough, but that's the way it is. Okay, with this being held in, I want to just give it another little shot of glue. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to deal with these guys, our little panels here for our air brakes. I want to get those installed too. Those are supposed to get installed at a later date, a little later spot, back here in step 12. Okay, A11 and 12, and you got your shocks here. You can have this displayed open, but I would need them closed because this plane's supposed to be in flight, not parked or landing. So A11 and I guess 12. Let's find those. Oh, right here. Bing and bang. There's 12 and 11. Okay. Very obviously lefts and rights. And we're going to see what's involved with closing these up. So they do have some nice detail on the inside of them if you wanted to have them displayed open, like they kind of recommend you. But I don't want this plane looking like, hey, the guy's put his air brakes on in mid-flight. you know, for no apparent reason. So this looks like it's supposed to go just like that. So we've got our extra little things that are supposed to go in there, and they don't quite line up because it doesn't quite fit flush. It doesn't fit flat against there. So we've got some alterations that need to be done. This edge here needs to be shaved down. This cannot be this thick. It's way too thick to fit against the fuselage, because they designed this part to be displayed open and not closed. So this is really thick, which it would be, but because we're having it closed up, we need to have this much thinner to fit flat against the fuselage. That's a lot of F's. Fit flat against the fuselage. This little tab too kind of feels like it's a little thick, but we'll see. Let's try this again. This whole piece really just does not want to fit in there. And with good reason, because, well, for example, they've cut this hole, and this hole has a sharp angle here, but the part has a rounded corner. So just right off the bat, she's not going to fit, just because of how they molded it and carved it. So, you know, I expect that kind of thing with the landing gear doors, but not with this. And I've got to get rid of all this detail on the inside of this thing because it's interfering. This needs to be just a very nice, flat, thin piece. It's going to fit nice and flush against that. Nice and flush, fit flush against the fuselage. Is what we need. Okay. She needs to fit flush against the fuselage. Okay, let's give this another try. I already know this isn't going to fit against the, it's not going to really fit in that corner there, but if I can get it so it's close, then at least it kind of looks like it's supposed to be like that. Just this whole, the way the fit is up here just does not fit at all. It's like it's sitting on top of it. They just made this too big, is really what they did. And yeah, if you just glue it on here like this, you'd never know. It just is like a piece sitting there like this, and that's the way it is. But trying to actually fit it inside that, yeah, sorry. Just need to shave the part down so that it's super thin. So it really is just a super thin piece of plastic sitting on the edge. And that just means a lot of elbow grease, a lot of work. And it shows you what I'm going to have to do twice to get that to fit on there. The other thing I could try doing is opening up this a little bit. Try carving this open just a hair. Get that piece just a little bit of a bigger area to fit in. Of course, if I go too far, well, then I have a gap, and I don't want that. But I want this to sit in there. I need to get from here to here. That's got to get carved out because I've got a big piece that needs to sit down on this. This is flat and flush with this, which kind of prevents that from sitting where it needs to. And of course, any imperfections you have are going to be shown on this really bright silver fuselage that eventually will be on there. So that's basically what I've got to deal with on this. And I don't think I can get anywhere better than what I've got. It's always going to look like an extra wide panel sitting on the outside. This, and that's just the way it's going to be. I can fill in gaps with putty, which is just basically what I'm going to have to do because that's just the way it is. She does not fit flush. No matter what I do, she don't fit flush. So my main objective is to get this lined up as best as I can. And glued down. And that's as flush as I can get that side. I can get it kind of tucked in a little bit, but it's really not much. It really is just an extra piece sticking out there. And that's the best I can do. So, knowing that's what I'm dealing with on that side, I'm going to preemptively start work on this side. Hopefully not disturb this side too much. The idea is try and make it so that I can get it almost flush, and then I can fill whatever little gap might be there with a bit of putty. Start working on this. this nice and thin. Yeah, woohoo's right. Okay. Let's get that shape down thin as I can. The other thing we don't want to do is we don't want to compromise the strength of the plastic part. Okay, let's see how she looks. This side sits better. Much better, actually. It's still not perfect. And still sits a little proud. But does sit a lot better. I'm actually happy with the little bit of work I just did. I'm happy with the way it sits now. It does kind of match on this side, so glue it is. It's a little unfortunate. Like I would at least like the mounting tabs or the hinges to sit flush, at least on their tips, but they don't. And there's really just nothing I can do. They're just too thick. They're just too thick. So what I can do is, after the glue is all cured and everything, I can take some sandpaper and everything in similar fashion that I did to the step here. I'm going to do that on the leading edge of these plates. Okay, I'm going to do that with those because it just is wrong. It's just wrong to have that such a big step at the front of that. It's just not right. That should be flush. Okay, so that's those. That's those covered up, and that's about it for that. This is looking pretty good, and it looks nice and solid. So I think I can start working on the front of this now to get this piece put into his hole. Maybe I can pry that in there. Get you down into your spot you don't really want to go. As soon as I push that down in, it flexes too much. It's just a little too much. And of course now I'm in a situation where I'm trying to work on this part without cutting this. So maybe this was not the smartest thing to do. That goes in now, but we've got this problem of this big gap. See, I was so concerned about the big gap on this side, and now I've got the gap on this side. But I can pull that over. Let's get these off of here. I can pull this over here. Let's get glue on this edge, because we didn't glue this edge yet. Let's get it along here. push this down. Of course, now this is where just need to hold it like that until that glue kind of starts to really take its bond. Okay, so I gotta hold that. While I'm holding this, let's take a look at our wings here. So we've got to put A21 and 22 together to create this, and then A28 and 29 to create that side. And then B45 is going to go into this little section right here. So I believe this is the B tree on my desk right now. Yes. B45 is this little rectangular guy. Well, I'm holding on to this part. Let's get B45 off of here. Okay. And grab our A tree. And we want 28, 29, 21, and 22. Okay. 21. And 22. Okay, we'll get the others in a minute. Is this piece going to cooperate if I let go? Let's see. It looks like it's going to stay. We'll see, and we'll give it a minute, and we'll see. Okay, let's clean this up. I'm going to keep kind of just looking at it in a minute here, over the course of a minute, and see if it starts to pull away. Maybe I got to add more glue and hold it again. It looks like it's going to stay. Okay, now at first glance it looks, you might be thinking, oh look at that, more flaps that we're going to be able to move around. But I'm going to tell you right now, no, we're not going to be able to move these up and down. And that is because the way they have these notched, they go in together and you have to glue it together. You got to glue them like this to create your wing. And of course, why they chose to do it this way, I'm not sure. They could have molded this as one part. They really could have. I've mentioned it before, I'm not sure why some of the decisions that these model makers, how they decide which parts should be separate and which you have to glue together. I don't know how they make those decisions. But this is one side right there. This was the 28, this was the 21 and 22 right there. Okay. So that's one. And we have our piece that's going in on the tail, which will not fit if you do not get rid of your nubs. So make sure you clean up your nubs. Okay, now let's grab 28 and 29. This is 28, where's 29? Right there. Okay, let's grab that. although I do appreciate that they put the nubs on the inside here where you're not going to see them, it makes cleaning them up a little bit more difficult because you've got to carve around parts that stick out that you need to maintain. Okay, similar fashion as the other side. Let's put these two together, line them up, and glue. Alright, so there's our two rear wings. This is looking okay, although she's not down as tight as I'd like it to be. We'll deal with that in a minute. Our little part that's got to go up in here looks like, let's see if I can tell here. Yes. So the part with the little pointy part that's sticking out, you see that on there? Whoops, where are we here? Okay, see the little tip sticking out at the top there? That's got to go at the top. And we're just so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up gluing it to the fin, which means our fin is going to wind up being glued solid. So I'll just make sure it's solid by gluing it everywhere. So our tail fin, which started out movable, is not going to be anymore. Once that dries, that'll be it. It'll be done. So let's do a little test fit on our first wing here. Feels pretty solid, like it's not going to be a loose fit. Definitely not. She's a tight fit, all right. Let's try this side. Let's try getting it the right way around. Find the hole. It's sometimes hard to find that hole. She's tight. There we go. Tight fit, but she's in. Okay. There we go. And it's just a tight enough fit that it's lined up nicely. So, but you know, we can't leave it like that. We've got to glue these things in. Give it a little press just to make sure, just for added measure. Okay. All right, so there's our two rear wings. You could call them stabilizers, you call them control surfaces, call them wings, whatever. That's it for that. All right. Now let's go back to our little panel here. This little panel is kind of bugging me a little bit, that she's sitting up right about here. She's sitting proud, and I don't like that. I'm going to see if I can put a clamp on that. One of my smaller clamps going to fit around there. Does. See, that's a tricky thing with clamps. Clamps are always a little round, and you have to be able to get it in exactly the right spot. And see, that what that did is that just pulled it out of its little channel here at the front, and that's not good. But we're almost good. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm nitpicking. It could be just nitpicking. Let's put a little more glue on here. Just give that a press and hold that. See, I just want that to be flush on there and not sitting proud. It should not be sticking out, it should be sitting flat. Because it's going to be almost impossible for me to shave that line down and retain the detail of the guns and stuff. Because that's one of the characteristics of this plane, is that gun detail needs to be preserved. Yes. I was hoping to get the main wings put in place today. I was not really anticipating the issues with this bottom panel, but I think we got it. So I'm going to take this and work it forward. I need to grab it here and lift it over top. There we go. See, if I pull this down here, that might help keep it, but maintain this back here to keep the tension on it. Keep it tight. Keep it tight. Tight like a toiter. Yeah, maybe. Try and keep that flat on there. Okay, before we go, let's put our wings on. Before I go, we gotta get our wings on. So, all we gotta do is put these into its little slots. Just like that. Now it's kind of it's not gonna hold it in there, but that's all there is to it, is just putting them in. So what I kind of want to do is get some tape. Get a couple pieces of tape here. This. Get her ready, because I can do this, hold that wing in place. But I need to hold it with enough tension that it's going to hold up. Just like that. That is perfectly held. So, I can put some glue on that. It's not perfectly held. We've got a gap. It's still not. But, put some glue on there. And give it a second. Will be perfectly held. Okay, go around to the bottom, go in here too. I'm always tempted to wipe the glue away when I get a big spot like that, but I've found it's better to just let it dry, because you can always sand it away later. And there we go. Our wing is held in place. She's not going to droop because of the tape. That's perfect. What you will want to do is flex upward if I let it sit on the wing though. So, really quickly, grab tape for the other wing. There we go. And put this on. And in similar fashion, I'm going to hold this wing like this. And put some glue. Well, my thumb is preventing it from drooping. And of course my tape now stuck together, so that doesn't help me very much at all. But I can do this. Now that's tight. There we go. And now we can flip over, holding with my finger so that it doesn't flop the other way. And put our glue down there. And there we go. And have a look. And they look pretty straight, right? They look pretty straight. All right. So that's that. That is where we're going to leave that for today. Okay. I'm going to let my wings dry. So now the other question is, now you've got this sitting there, so you can't put it on its wings. What can you do? Well, you could put it straight up. You could put a couple of things beside it there. It's almost sit up straight up on its own, but it won't. So not going to have that happen. The other thing is we could grab a clamp. Grab a clamp like this. Let's just close it up a little bit here. Okay, and you can put the clamp on the nose. Okay, and just make it just a little bit tight, but not really. Okay, so what I want to do is just do this, close it up just enough till I start feeling a little bit of tension. There we go. Okay, just like that. Okay, and now we can let that dry. All right, so with that, I'm just going to move this here. See, it's literally not that much tension because I can move this and I can pull it out of the clamp, right? So, if you're wondering, why are you crushing it? I'm not crushing it, okay? I'm crushing it, no. Yeah, we're gonna let this dry, and this is where I thank you guys. I thank you guys for watching. I thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for leaving comments. I want to thank you guys for all the support, and we'll see you all in the next one.